Everybody, welcome. I was basically I'm telling everybody to make sure they have a pen and a paper. We're going to do some strategy here. I know some of you have done this with me, but we're going to do strategies for 2020. So you'll need a calculator, you need your pen and a pencil so that we can really kind of dig in there and then come up with a plan about how you can meet it for the year. Because I'm all about numbers. All right, so pen and paper and a calculator. And then because this is a workshop, I'll be asking each of you at different points, okay, so what did you come up with? Because we're gonna make sure that you're actually digging in your business, because I find that when talking about a lot of these topics, I find that it's really powerful when people are able to bring their business into the conversation. And so the value here is being able to really take your information, what you're doing in your business, putting it into this strategy and asking questions about that, because there's no stupid questions. And because this is a workshop, I want it to be interactive. It's not just going to be about me lecturing all of you and telling you what to do. It's going to be also about you taking this information, working in your business and asking the questions that you have about what to do with it, because the intention is for you to get value. And the best way for you to get value is if you take this information and actually work it and use it and come up with a real plan that when we hang up, or when we're done, I'm saying hang up this call, when we're done with this session, you actually have something that you can work with and walk with and make work in your business. So what I'll do is I have the Zoom chat group up. Some of you might be on your phone, and so you may not be able to access it. You probably will be able to see it when it comes to your phone. But if I know on the Zoom phone, you're able to put in the chat as well. So I want to make sure that I see the chat so you can converse through that way as well. Okay, so what I'll do is I'll put everybody on mute, and then we'll unmute if you have any questions. And that way, and one of the things that I love about workshops is just ask a question. You can unmute. Some of you know the feature to raise your hand. If you're on your Zoom computer, there is a section when you look over when you put the thing over your picture, it has the opportunity where you can raise your hands, or even if you look at the Zoom features. So just know that I will notice all that too, or put in the chat, or just unmute yourself and say, I have a question. So like I said, don't hesitate to stop me and ask questions. So everybody has their pen, their paper in hand, and a calculator, and then we'll start to get right into it. So my name's Phyllis Francis. I am a business coach and strategist. I have been coaching since '98, so I've been doing this for a really long time, and I'm a coach trainer. So my background is actually I came as a marriage and family therapist. That's my training, and then I switched over into coaching. And because I was a coach trainer and I was training people to be coaches in the profession, I started to get really good with being able to share with people on how to build a business. And so a lot of it, because after a coach gets trained, it's like, now I'm ready to coach, now what? And so I started to train myself up and skill up on how to help people make money, because the thing with the coaching profession is a lot of people had their credentials and then they didn't know how to make money from it. And so that's where a lot of my experience came from, just helping them build practices. And then it kind of spiraled into working with marriage and family therapists, because that was my former profession. And then it's kind of expanded to solo practitioners. No matter what business you're in, I mean, I work with people that are in pest control, they're consultants, they can have a brick and mortar, because the strategies that I present can work for all different types of businesses, and it's really helpful. So those of you that have been in some of my previous virtual workshops, they know the one thing that I always say is you got to know your numbers. You've got to know your numbers, and not just to know your numbers like, oh, I want to make this much money this year. It's not about just coming up with a kind of, this is what I want to make and this is what I have to make each month. This is about like knowing your numbers. Oh, my earring just fell out. I get really excited and I start moving around a bit, so I start knocking stuff out. So, but this is about like knowing not just what your ideal income is. This is about also creating a step-by-step plan. And so what my expertise is and what I love to do is help you actually come up with a plan, a step-by-step action that you know what you need to do, that you have target numbers and you know how to reach them. Because that's one of the biggest things that I find about entrepreneurs, especially solopreneurs, is that a lot of us we have a plan, and yet there's a gap between what we need to actually do each day to reach it. And so that's what I'm trying to do, is close that gap so that you have a strategy, that you have processes in place, that you have a system, because that's the best way. That's the way that you're going to create success, especially when you're coming from a six-figure mindset. It's really important to have these systems in place, because it's, or else you're just kind of, as entrepreneurs, as you all know, we're wearing multiple hats. We're our marketer, we're our tax, our debt collector, we're creating programs, we're delivering services, we're doing everything. And so it's really important to be able to have systems in place to really help you strategize. Because when it comes to our time and how we're building our business, really 50% of our time should be on income producing activities. We should really be focusing on building our income and doing those activities and understanding what they are, because a lot of people have confusion around that. And so I'm offering a free virtual workshop once a month. They're going to be on different times. So in a future workshop, we're going to go into, building how to do time management. We'll go into all those later, but today is about creating your profit planning for 2020. So how I want to start. So any questions? Oh, and I muted some of you. So if you I can take you off mute, or you can raise your hand, or you can put something in the chat. And like I said, this is going to be interactive. So I will be calling on some of you every now and then, just to kind of see if you understand where we're going. So the intention about today is creating that profit planning mastery, so that you really have a mastery over what it is you want to create and what you know, and then come up with a step-by-step strategy on how you can reach it. So the first place that we always need to start is, how much do you need to make? Okay, what do you need to make in order for you to be successful? And I want this to be a stretch. Like, what do you want to make this year? I want this to be able to kind of think about something that's ideal, but also not so much of a stretch where it's so far to get to. And so you really want to make sure that you have a clear understanding of that. So all of you should have your number about how much you want to make for this year, because now it's January, it's the beginning of 2020, we're kind of halfway into January. And so there's a few things that you'll need to do to be able to make it. So for the example, I'm going to start with 100,000, because I understand that most people will have that. So that'll be 100,000 will be the number, the example that I'll be using. Yours can be higher, yours can be lower. It can be whatever it is. And some of you might have a day job. Some of you might be working full time, and this is something that you're trying to transition to, or we don't want this to be like a hobby. I want to help you kind of create this to be a real business. So think about the number that you want to make in the actual business that you have, or the business that you're creating, or the one that you're expanding. And so if you're working with a couple of different entities, how much do you want to make coming out of the business that you have currently? So $100,000 is the goal that I'm thinking, as that's the example that I'm going to use for most people. And so then we're going to divide that by 12. Okay, so like I said, follow me, keep following me here, because I'm going to build on this. So it's not just a straight, oh, this is how much money, and then we're going to stop. We're going to build on this as to coming up with your marketing plan. We're going to come up with a strategy. So this is something we're going to grow into. So if $100,000 is what you're going to make, and I'm going to put this in the chat because some of you have access to this, $100,000 a year, that's going to equal to, even though I have it, $8,333 a month. Okay. So everybody needs to come up with whatever that figure is. Okay. So $8,033, that's going to be a month. That's what it's going to break down to. So we all kind of have that. And some people like to break that down into what it is a week, and that's fine. So if you want to break that down for the conversation, we're going to really work with the monthly numbers, but it's something you should know too, because this is going to help you as you start to hit your target numbers. When you want to know how well you're doing in a month, this will kind of help you pace yourself during the month, as opposed to the end. And some people like to do this quarterly. Some people like to look at their targets quarterly. I'd say at least start with a month. At least know what you need to do in the month. And then if you're going to break down, let's say if your number is $100,000 and you're going to break that down a week, that's going to come out to about $2,100. Okay. So just understand that too. So once you have that, so that's clear. And like I said, yours will all vary, and that's fine. Some of you might even be 200,000. Some of you might be just happy with making $50,000 in your business. Whatever it is, it's perfect, because this is going to be the strategy for that. And so you've got your amounts. So we have your financial plan. This is your ideal scene. Now we want to look at, some of you are already in business. Some of you want to be in business. How much are you charging for your services? So if you have a service or you have a product that you're selling, some of you have products, Some of you are actually out there and you're doing coaching or consulting or some sort of thing, whether it's acupuncture or something like that, where you're being paid per hour. What is it that you're being paid? Like, what is your packages? When you look at your package for the month, how much is the average that you get paid per client per month? Does everybody have an idea? And some of it can be big, some of it can be small, and that's fine. But how much is your average client? So for instance, for me, I'm a coach, I'm a strategist. I have lots of different things that I do. I do groups, I do individuals, but the average client, let's say if I'm using this, staying with this structure, would be $1,000 a month, okay? So then that's my program. It's $1,000, most clients are paying $1,000 a month. If I wanna reach the $8,333, then how many clients am I gonna need to be able to reach that goal? I have to always have a certain number of clients. Does anybody know what that is? I know I have you all on mute. So you could come up mute and say something or not. But basically, it's going to be 8.3 clients. Now, I'm going to call them units. So if $1,000 is what I charge per client, that's kind of my average unit of service. Some of you, like I said, might have an actual product. So I'm going to need to sell 9 units in order to reach my goal. And I'm actually typing this in so that you can see that if you follow it, because like this math equation, like I said, we're just going to keep adding on. So I want to make sure you're with me. So if I have 9 units to reach my goal of 8,000, I mean, obviously that's going to bring me in 9,000, but ultimately I can't get 8.3 clients. It's usually going to be 9 clients, 9 units. I'm going to have to sell 9 units in order to reach that goal. Okay. You follow me? So I want to make sure everybody has their math down, because we're going to build on this. So I'm going to check in. So like I said, this is a workshop. So all of you should have your pens and your papers ready. If you're following my example, that's perfect. And so where are you at? So let's check with Gail. So Gail, I'm going to take you off mute. Do you have your number and do you have your units?
I did it as I'd like to make 350K.
Okay.
So monthly it would be 9. So sorry, monthly it would be 29K, and then I broke it down to weekly. It was 7,250. So my units is in to make the monthly fee 6 clients. And my packages would be for 5K coaching clients.
Okay, so 5K. So you have 29,200, pretty much, give or take, right? We're going to average it. Your coaching program is 5K. So in order for you to reach that goal of 29, you're going to need basically 6 clients or 6 units. So okay, great. So keep that in mind, and then we're going to build onto this in a moment. Okay.
All right. Thanks.
Yeah. Okay, so, and then Autry, I don't know if you need to come off mute. Do you have your figure for 2020?
Yes, I have my, I'm looking at 100K a year. So I have the same 833. Already I know that each client can bring in 2,000 a month. So I would need 5 to, well, it'll be a little bit over. It'll be 4 at 8,000, but 5 to get the 8,033. So it'll be 10,000.
Okay, so you need 5 units, basically.
5 units.
Right, in order for you to reach at least that goal.
At least that goal, correct, yes.
Excellent. Okay, so 5 units, and so I'm calling their clients with their units just in case some of
units, yeah.
Okay. Okay, awesome. Okay, so keep that number in mind when I take you to the next step. Okay, so I know, Dale, you're driving, but I'll just peek in with you for a minute. Are you following the math, even though I know you're not able to write it? I just want to make sure if you're using any of these examples might hopefully help you to be able to track that.
Yes, yeah, I'm following.
Okay, perfect. And do you have an idea of how many units you need to sell each month in order to hit your goal?
The way my business is structured, I work with clients. I don't really sell in terms of units. I sell in terms of, I sell in terms of engagements, and the value of the engagement can vary considerably. I have different types of clients, or streams of income, I should say. One being one-on-one coaching clients, other being group coaching clients and engagements for corporate. So I have, just in a nutshell, I have some goals set in terms of the various revenue streams and how together they will provide they will help me to achieve the kind of revenue goals, revenue generation goals that I've set for my business.
Okay, perfect. And you actually are taking it to the next step, which we'll get to in a minute, because we're working with the average kind of unit or the average service that you're providing. Some of you have multiple services. And so we'll kind of go into that because there's different combinations that you can do in order to reach your goal. Okay, so that all makes sense. Okay, so great. So you have an idea of that, and then think about your different engagements. If you offer 3 different types of services, run the number for all 3 services. How many clients, if you have one-on-one clients, how many one-on-one clients would you need to reach that goal? If you're doing, let's say, a group engagement, how many people would you need to join that group? How many units of the group would you need to sell in order to reach that goal? And let's say you have a third service where it's like a corporate engagement, which is at a different price point. How many corporate gigs would you need to run that month? And then again, like I said, you can move this to quarterly. And if you were to move this to quarterly, you would take that $100,000 example and you would divide that by 4. So then if you were to do it quarterly, let's say if you have engagements that are, let's say $20,000 for an engagement that may last 6 months or 4 months, then you could still do the same process with the quarterly engagements, with the bigger kind of things. And then, so for instance, then if I need to make $25,000 a quarter, that's basically $25,000 every 4 months in order to reach my $100,000 goal. Then if my corporate engagements are $15,000 and I need to make 25, then I know I need to at least sell 2 a quarter. Okay, so that will kind of help you, at least so you can think about the math. And so Andrea, do you have yours? You have your information down. I'm taking you off mute. Oh, I can't take Andrea off mute, but I want to make sure, are you able to follow? You have your numbers so far?
Yes.
Okay, and Andrea, hi, nice to see you.
Hi.
I already made you do this, but thanks for
Yes.
coming. All right, perfect. And then did you want to share with the group, how many units do you need to sell a month in order to reach that goal?
Yeah, because we have repeat business renewals.
Right?
So that money is already set. So with the new business, we would need, the overall goal is 450,000 a year.
Okay.
Break it down to 37,500 a month. We currently have 18,400 in renewals. So that would leave us about 18,000 more that we have to get in new business, and about 19,000.
Okay.
So we're talking about 30.
So you have to sell 30 units in order to reach that goal of the 18.
Correct.
To cover.
Exactly.
Okay, perfect. And so Andrea, I'm so glad you shared, because that's the next thing, because some of you are already making money in your business right now and you still have a big goal. And so we'll look at how many of your clients are already fulfilling that number in a moment. And some of you can actually do that now. So what I mean by that, for instance, is if my goal is to make 100,000 a year, and I already have, and I already gave you my numbers, I need to reach, let's say 9 units. I need to sell 9 clients to reach the 8,333. But right now I'm making 5,000 already. So then you would do the math from there. So if you're already making 5,000 in the business, which means I already have 5 units sold, I would take the 9 units minus 5, and that means now I need to get 4 units. So I need 4 units to sell in order to hit that goal of 100K. And so if those of you already making money, start to run that number. So you have your number, you have how many units, how much you need to make a month, you have how many units, and like I said, you may have multiple services, but pick one for the sake of this argument, and then you can go into the other ones. Because like I said, with like Dale, you have 3 different services you offer. It's gonna be 3 different numbers, but also it could be even more than that because the combination may change. You may have 2 corporate clients and then 3 individuals in one group, and that's okay too. That works out perfectly as long as you understand, your units. Okay, and so with Andrea, it's like, okay, here's our goal. It's like, here's what I'm already making. This is what I need to make in new business each month to hit the bigger goal. Because each year you want to stretch, you want to go even bigger. You want to grow at least 20 to 30% if you can, like at least have that target. to grow each year. You know, that's a good thing. At least 20% is a good growth kind of figure, so that each year you're growing into something bigger. And we'll talk more about that in the other workshops of ways to revitalize your if you already have a company, to kind of refresh your company, refresh your opportunities, the value propositions, like the different services that you're providing to make it even more accessible, or even how to upsell people into more business. So, but mainly here, we're just trying to get the basic numbers so that you have that in January of 2020. And this is something you're going to use throughout the whole year. And so, Veronica, I want to make sure that you have your number. Do you have your number, and do you know how many units or how many engagements or clients you need to sell in order to reach it?
45 seconds of the call, 3 times starts now.
Veronica, do you have your number? Oh, I can barely hear you. I'm going to turn the volume off. And Veronica, if you're on the Zoom chat, you can use the Zoom chat, because I can't, for some reason, you sound so far away. Let's try it one more time. Can you hear me? You can hear me, but I can't hear you. Okay, I can't hear you. So Veronica, see if you can type it in the chat. You want to know your units. How many clients do you need to sell? How many products you need to sell, or how many engagements you need to sell in order to reach your monthly figure? Okay, and then Shay, I want to check in and see if you have your information. Do you know your numbers?
Hi, I'm actually just following at least the basis that you're giving us with the 100,000, just to get familiar with this lingo, because it's new to me. But yes, I'm following what you're presenting, and then I can punch in numbers as, like you said, growing each year, and this is like a good basis for me to pretty much reflect on, get some insight on how this is operate, how to operate.
Okay, perfect. And then what is your business? Do you have your business?
Well, actually, I just obtained my master's, and I'm actually like trying to go in a different route than what I obtained my master's in. So now, being familiar with just getting in a different mindset is also like, hey, we are in a position to create our own businesses. So with that being said, how do I cultivate my game plan? And so this is a good opportunity for me just to get into that business mindset.
Okay, perfect. Okay, great. So thanks for playing along. And this is the best thing you can do, especially if you haven't started your business. And so thank you, Shay. It's like to be able to know kind of, okay, this is how I need to start thinking, because it is a money mindset. One of the things that I found that when I work with a lot of people is that they don't know their numbers. They don't know, they just kind of go into a business and they throw these numbers out and they hold intentions, and then they may sell, but they don't have a strategy. And that's the main thing, is to basically take these numbers and then create a strategy that can help walk you up to it. So
exactly.
Yeah. So when you start to think about, okay, what your businesses could be, how much you could sell, we can go into the whole services and all that kind of stuff like later, but start to think of, let's say, if you do have $1,000 business where you would sell 1,000 a month, what would it be? And then start to look at the strategy that we're going to go into in a moment as to how you can start to go and obtain these numbers. Okay.
All right. Thank you.
And then, okay, Minnie, I wanted to give you a chance. Do you have your units? Do you know?
I don't, not really, because I'm at the very beginning of starting my business. So I don't even know what I need to charge. So I'm just following this.
Okay, yeah. So follow the numbers around, and that's great too. So
okay.
I love using, like I said, this is a workshop, so I kind of am calling on people and I'm making it interactive, because that's where I find the most value comes. Because if people get lost, especially with the numbers tracking, and then they're like confused for the rest of the session. So as long as you're following along, I'm using the $100,000 business idea. So everybody has their number, they have their unit. Some of you are about to start your business, so you're going to need the 9 units. Let's say if you're working with the $100,000 example. So now you know you need to sell 9 units for 1,000 each in order to reach that. And then some of you are already in business and you're either halfway to your goal or you're 70% or wherever you are, you kind of know that. So now all of you should have your numbers as to what you're going to need to make. So that's where Andrea was a little ahead of the game. So some of you are already making money. So subtract that from your monthly amount. Some of you might have already done that. And then, okay, so like for instance, using Andrea's example, hers is around 18,000. She knows she needs to sell 30 new units a month in order to reach that goal. And you want to, some of you might have a one and done kind of service to where you're offering a service. When I say one and done, you do the service and then it's done. And that's, you can still do this model on that. It's just a little harder if you have to keep selling new people into a service. So when you have a service business, or if you have a product, you want to find a way in which you kind of can make it like a subscription service, or you can kind of make it to where it adds on to something else, because you just have to resell every month, as opposed to, let's say, like a coaching client. They're paying $1,000 a month. Usually I'll start with a 6-month contract. Some clients I have a year. And so it's all a little different. And so it's being able to do that. So for me, virtual coaching. So, oh, I'm looking. Okay. So somebody wrote a little note here. So this is great. So you want to make sure you know you have your numbers. Okay. So everybody has their numbers. They know how many they need to make. Now, the next question, which is a little bit more challenging for people, I want to talk about sales. What this means is, what are your sales conversions? So what I mean by that is, so if I'm selling a business of coaching, it's costing $1,000 a month, and I need to get 9 people. So now I put that aside. The next question is, when I sell my coaching services, how many people do I have to talk to in order to sell one package? So for instance, if I talk to 10 people about coaching, how many people actually buy? So out of every 10 people that I speak to, let's say I'm going to try to make a number that's easier to convert. Let's say half of them will buy. So then my sales conversion is 50%. So for every 10 people that I talk to, 5 people buy my services. That means I have a 50% conversion rate. Now, that's really high. Okay. Most people are going to be anywhere between 10, 20, 30. But I'm just doing this for the sake of the numbers. So you want to think about it. Even if you're new in business, you want to think, okay, how enrolling am I? And so what I mean by that is, how good are you at being able to sell somebody something? And it's not just a product. It's like, if you have a group of friends, like I'm one of those friends, like when I do something really great, like I do a program or I read a great book, oh my God, everybody, you have to read this book. It's amazing. I can get a real good percentage of my friends to buy the book, because it's like, I'm excited, I'm enrolling. I built up, trust with that. When they hear me mention something, they believe it, they'll check it out. And so you can kind of look at it like that. Okay, how well are you able to sell people? And so if you don't have your numbers, that's really important for you to start tracking. So especially when you're in business and you've been in business, you want to start looking and starting to track your numbers. So for every 10 people, every time you have a sales call, you want to go ahead and track that. So if I have 10 sales calls this week, how many people said, yes, I'm going to buy? Some of them are going to carry over where they'll say, okay, I don't know, call me back. You want to track that too. And then when they buy, then that is your conversion. So for those of you that don't know your conversion, you want to start at 10%. Okay, you just want to start at 10% because you need to have some sort of baseline. And this is really important when we're talking about strategy and growing your business, because it's not just about, oh, I have a product and I'm going to be able to get this number and sell. You want to be able to know what your sales conversions are, because this is what's going to help you to be able to make any tweaks and to know what you need to do to make it, to bring that number up. So for instance, so if I'm talking to 10 people and only 1 person buys for every 10 person that I talk to, this gives me an idea of like, okay, so my sell conversions are at 10%, which is low. We want to raise that. So I want to talk to 10 people and I want to have at least 3 people buy. Then I got to look at, okay, where do I need to grow? Where do I need to make changes? And so is the change going to be on my strategy? I'm going to need to learn how to sell, because sometimes it's just, you need to skill up on selling. Or is my product, if I'm selling coaching at $1,000 a month, am I giving enough value? Do I need to add the value? And so this is where we kind of look at your values propositions. That's what I call it. It's like, okay, if I'm selling you something at $1,000 a pop and you aren't buying it, then I got to look at either A, I don't know how to sell, or B, what I'm selling is not that good and I need to shift that. Or I need to make it better, or I need to reposition it, find a new target. There's lots of ways of what you need to do, but you first got to know what it is before you can start to tweak it. Okay. So if you're looking at, if you don't know your sales conversion, you want to go at 10%. So I'll check in with all of you. So Gail, do you know what your sales conversion is? Do you have a sales? Have you tracked your sales?
What it is I'm coming back into this because I did coaching, and then I went through the struggles of, you know, trying to get the clients and everything like that. So I said I have to go back. So I went back to what was my old job. So now I'm coming back at again, but recharged, and also I have other things of courses as well that I will want to promote as well. The tougher thing I did was to get the actual coaching client, but because based on what you're saying, effectively I'd need about 30 people, sort of like breakthrough sessions or something, to get my not six, what's it, I've forgotten what the word you used, 6 packages I needed, 6
Right, I'm
people.
calling them units. You can call them packages, engagement.
Units, yeah, 6 units.
Okay.
Yeah, so I'd need to make 30 calls to get my conversion of 6 units. So that's 30 calls per month.
And Gail, I want to walk people through the numbers so they understand where we're coming from. Numbers. So all of you should have your monthly number. All of you know how many units, engagements, products that you need to sell in order to reach it. Like some of you had 9, some of you had 30. And then we're talking about your sales conversion. So what was your conversion? Was it, what percent did you have it at? 10%, 20%?
This is the percentage I'm not sure.
Okay, so if you're not sure, then you start at 10%. Because what happens is after you start to sell, then you'll start to gauge it. Once you start to track it, then you'll know what your true number is. So if you start at 10%, so Gail, remind me, how many units did you need to sell in order to?
I need to sell 6 units per month.
Okay, you need to sell 6 units per month. And if you have a 10% conversion, then you're going to need to talk to, if you do the math, if you do the 10% on the 6, she's going to need to talk to 60 people in order to sell 6 units.
All right then. So that's 60 people. Yeah.
60 people. So what that means for every 10 people that she talks to, and if she sells 1, then if she wants to hit 6 units, she's going to have to talk to 60 people. Do you guys understand how we came up with that number, with that conversion? So if she talks to 60 people, if she's got a 10% sales conversion, which means for every 10 people, 1 person usually buys, then she needs to target getting in front of 60 people each month in order to sell the 6 units. Now, some of you have services, like I said, it's a subscription-based service. It carries over. So once you've hit, let's say you've sold 2 units in a month and you needed 6 to reach your goal. Now you only have 4 left for next month. Then you need to talk to 40 people. It's going to change as each month goes if you hit your target. So I understand that, but you want to start somewhere, right? So Gail, that makes sense. Do you understand this? Why it's
Okay. Yeah, 100%.
So keep this in your mind, because then we're gonna keep building on this number. Because
but can I just, sorry, but because of that 60 people, the thing is sometimes you may not have the person that commits, for example, this month, but they may commit in month 3.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's when, sometimes it'll take more than one conversation. So when you have a situation like that, especially if you have a high-end product that you're selling, sometimes you need to talk to people a couple times, then that carries over to the next month. And so, but what I try to do, because then that starts to get a little complicated with the numbers, it's each beginning of each month, I kind of erase my board, and I have a dry erase board up there where I put my numbers down. And what I start over and I put, the number of units I need to speak to. So if yours is 60, and I talk to 60 people, and I'll put a little marking on the 60. I do a bubble chart, okay? And I'm gonna walk over so you all can see my bubble chart, okay? And so what I do is I do a bubble chart. So if I know I need to talk to 6 people, you see the bubbles in the month, right?
Yeah.
Put the amount of bubbles, and then everybody I talk to, I'll put their information in there or their initials so I can remember who they are. And then I'll track it so that I know where I'm at for the month as far as the sales calls. Okay, does that make sense?
Yeah,
So
100%.
bubble chart, you don't even need, I have a dry erase board because for me, as my time management, I need to see it. And if I put it in my computer, if I put it in a book that closes, if I don't see it, it's not top of mind. So with your bubble chart, when you start to get what your numbers are, so for Gail, yours is 60 bubbles, right? You can just make it on your worksheet, put 60 bubbles, you know, in lines of 10 or 6, however you want to do it. And then, you know, every time you have a sales call, fill in a bubble because that's going to let you know, oh gosh, it's now, I need 60 people. We're now halfway in the month. I should be at 30, right?
Yeah.
Halfway in. And so you want to be able to track that. And we're going to talk about how to get in front of those people in a moment. I just want to make sure everybody knows where I'm going with this. Because like I said, a lot of times, a lot of strategies will stop at the number and how many units, but now we have to go deeper because you actually need, I want you all to walk away with a plan that you can walk through each month so that you know it's before you then start to change and shift and move things around. So thank you, Gail.
Thank you.
Okay, and Andrea, I know you have your numbers, Andrea, because I've gone through this with her. And so Andrea, you have how many people you need to get in front of this month. I was going to take you off mute, and you can share or not, but so I know you have your tracking, and we're going to talk about how you get in front of them. Marlicia, do you have your numbers?
Yes. So right now I'm low. I'm under the 10%. So 15 people I talked to, I got 2 clients. So I need to up that. So that translated into talking to 38 people. But
Okay, 15%. So 15 people, that's a little bit over 10%. So do you know what
maybe I did the math wrong. So I only got 2 of the 15 that signed up.
Okay, so you need, so let me make sure I understand your numbers. So you need 15 people to sign up?
No, I said I'm talking about what I already did. I
Okay,
talked
right.
to 15 people, and of those 15 people, so my conversion rate is 2 of the 15, which was like 7.5% conversion rate. But I was saying I needed to up that because right now to stay there, I talked to 38 people. To get to the 10%, I'll need to talk to 50 people to get 10% conversion rate.
Okay, so yours is really going to be 15%. That's your conversion rate?
Oh, it's 15%. Can you walk through the numbers with that? Because I guess I'm a little confused.
Okay, because for every, so if you talk to 10 people and you got 1 person that bought, that's 10%.
Right.
If you talk to 20 people and 2 people bought, that's 10%.
That's 10%.
But you talk to 15 people and 2 people bought.
Right. Oh, okay.
So that's 15%. So when you're running that number, when you look at that,
Oh, so it's 15%.
yeah, so your conversion's a little bit higher. And so what you want to do is you want to take the number of clients that you, so we did kind of the numbers with Gail, we're doing them with Marlicia. It's like, you want to multiply that. So you want to take, how you get your conversion rate is you take okay, I'm going to walk you guys through this because I want to make sure everybody has their conversion rates. So you take your monthly rate. We've already divided it to find out how many clients you need. So you have your units, right? So if we're all starting at the fact that you know your numbers, Marlicia, high five on that, because like I said, I'm glad that you're tracking it now. Marlicia and I have walked through these numbers before. So it's good that you know them because in the beginning you didn't know them. And that's
right.
why you start at 10%. So you actually, your numbers, your sales game is a little bit better than you thought. And
okay.
And then we're going to do another class on the sales strategy. So we'll do that a little bit later. But start at 10%. Everybody should have the numbers. But how you get it if you actually know your conversion is you basically want to track how many clients you have, how many clients you need. You want to then track it by how many you've spoken to. So for her, for the 15% out of 2, how I came up with that number, I actually did it in my head. But you take the number that you have, you add it to the numbers that you need to book, and then you divide it by your percentage. So with the 15 clients you have to talk to, okay, I'm trying to think of how to walk you guys through the numbers. I used to teach math, so you wouldn't think that. But it's basically based on what you have, that's going to be 15%. And so now that you know it's 15%, how many clients do you need to hit your goals? How many clients left for each month? I got to use a real number. If I do
Okay, so to meet my goals, I need 5 clients or 5 units a month to hit my goal.
And so you need 5 additional clients, correct?
I mean, well, I need, to meet my goal, I need 3 additional clients because I have 2 now. I'm
okay,
sorry.
so you need 3 additional clients.
Yes.
So you take the 3 and then you divide it by the 15%, okay?
Okay.
The 3 divided by the 15%, so then you need to talk to 20 clients,
Okay.
okay? So you take the number and you divide it by whatever your percentage is.
Okay.
How about her percentage is she started to track how many sales calls she was having and was able to come up with a figure. Okay, so you want to subtract it. And what's cool is even our phone. So I'm using the calculator in the phone. All you have to do is take the number of what you need. So if somebody said they needed 30. So if you take the number 30, and Andrea, that's you. And I forget what your sales conversion is, but let's say it's 10%, right? So you take 30, you divide it by the 10%, then you need to talk to 300 people. But if your conversion's higher, then it's going to be a different number, right? So if it's 30 and you're dividing it by, let's say your conversion rate's 20%, then that means you need to talk to 150 people, right? But you won't know your conversion until you start tracking it. And if there's anything that you can walk away with from this call is you need to know your numbers. That is the most important thing, and not just the numbers of your ideal scene and what you want to make. You need to know what it is that you need to track what you're doing so that you can go back and base it on that. So for instance, Gail's just getting back into the business. When she's gonna talk to so many people this month, she's gonna look at how many people she sold. She's gonna be able to know what her conversion rate is. And then for that next month, then she'll be able to basically take that number and divide it by how many clients she wants. And that's gonna give her how many people she needs to get in front of. Okay, so I wanna make sure everybody's following me on this. Shay, are you following me on the numbers here?
Can you give that example that you were using? I think it was the 30. Yeah, 30 divided by 20. So the conversion and the amount of clients that you need.
Sure. Okay, so I'm using real examples because I find that if I use a general one, it's harder to track. So Andrea shared that she needed to get 30 clients. Okay.
Okay.
So what I did is I took the 30 because she needs 30 clients in order to hit her goal. And if I recall, the goal was like 18,000, right? So she needs to sell 30 units or 30 units in order to reach it. But I didn't ask her, so what's your sales conversion? So if her sales conversion rate is 10%, so if you don't know what your sales conversion rate is, you want to start with 10%. Start with, and then you'll build from there. We'll get clear based on your numbers in the future. So you take 30, you divide it by 10%, and then that gives you 300. So what that means is she's going to need to talk to 300 people in order to sell 30 people, right? Now, let's say a sales conversion is really 20%. So on average, when she talks to 10 people, usually 2 people buy. So then we take the 30, we're going to divide it by 20%, and that's going to give her 150. So what that means, now that we know, okay, she actually does pretty good when she sells at 20%, then that means she's going to have to now get in front of 150 people.
150 people, okay.
Right, in order for her to get 3 people to buy.
Okay.
Now, let's say Andrea's been in business for a while and her conversion is 30%, and 30% is really good. And so I want to make sure that people are not feeling like, oh gosh, 10% is low. Really, the sales conversions are anywhere, like a really good one is around 20-25%. And anything higher than that is amazing. So let's say she still wants 30 people. She can sell 1 out of 4 people. For every 4 people she talks to, one of them will buy. You're going to take the 30, you're going to divide it by 25%. If she's got a 1 in 4 conversion rate, 25%, then she needs to now get in front of just 120 people in order to sell the 30 people. Does that you that now?
Yes. Thank you so much.
Yeah, and like I said, most of you don't know your conversions because when it comes down to entrepreneurship, nobody's teaching us that, And so it's really important to start tracking your numbers, know your numbers. When you talk to somebody that's making six figures, multiple six figures beyond, they know their numbers. Not only do they know their numbers, they know the numbers of their team. They know exactly what people are doing, because this is where you're able to then go into tweaking. This is where you can start to figure out how you want to market. This is where you can start to grow what the product that you're providing and create more value if people aren't buying. This is where you start to learn where you can tweak to get better numbers. But you got to know where you're at first before you know where you need to tweak. Because a lot of times people will think, okay, I'm going to offer all of this and people are going to buy, and they're like, nobody's buying and I don't know why. The first thing most people are going to ask you, especially a strategist, okay, what are your numbers? Because we got to look at, I got to figure out, is the product you're selling not a good product, or are you just don't know how to sell it? And this is really important, because your strategy is going to change based on that information, right? Because if you especially want to scale, if you want to start getting the multiple sixes, then we know, okay, your product's not selling, so now we got to add more value to it. Or maybe the target audience that you're selling to, like this is when we start to strategize what we need to do. Okay, does that make sense? I'm saying, does that make sense in all of you? So, Minnie, are you following where I'm going with this? Does this make sense as far as the numbers? Let me take her off mute. Did I take you off mute? Okay, Minnie, you're off mute now. Does it make sense as to where I'm at here at this point?
Yes, it does. I'm understanding most of it. Yes.
Excellent. Okay, and then Andrea, I think I circled back with you. Andrea, what is your sales conversion? Do you know what your sales conversion is?
It's right at 50%.
Okay, great. So she's like phenomenal, 50%. She's for a while. She's got a business that she knows how to sell it. So at 50%, so let's take her real numbers, 30 divided by 50%. She needs to get in front of 60 people to sell 30 units.
Yes.
Yeah. And so the reason why I really want all of you to get this is because every month this is going to change, right? Because if I need 9 units to reach 8,333 a month, and I've got 5 units sold, I need to sell 4. Then this month, let's say I speak to, so let's say my conversions run at about 40%. So let's say if I needed to get 4 units, I need to sell 4 people divided by, let's say 40%, then I need to get in front of 10 people. If I have 10 people that I can sell, then chances are I'll be able to close 4 of them. Now, let's say this month I close 2 additional people and I need 4 left. Then next month, when I go back to creating, I will erase my board each month and I'll start over. Okay, I need to sell 2 units of, let's say, the individual coaching. So then now I need to sell 2 units. I divide it by, let's say, the 40%. So I need to get in front of 5 people this month in order to sell the remaining 2 units, okay? Now let's say this month I got in front of, let's say, this many people and I only sold, my conversions lowered. Then I would change how I do my math. So let's say over the summer I sold 40%, but last month I sold 20%. Then I would then do the calculations based on my current conversion. Okay, so I need 4 clients. Now so I take 4 and I divide it by 20%. Then I need to get in front of 20 people this month in order to sell, okay? So that's how you kind of track it each month. So it's gonna adjust itself each month, whether it's how many units you're gonna need because you've sold some, or it's gonna be based on what product you're selling. And so before I get into when you have multiple units, I just want to put in here. So for those of you, some of you have taken this on, is for basically you wanna go to meetingwithphyllis.com, and I'm gonna put it down here, to book a strategy call. And so for those of you, if you want to get into your actual business, it'll be about a 30-minute, 45-minute call where we'll go into it and we'll actually start to look into your numbers and look at how you can sell, like what do you need to sell, how to package it, and we can start to go into these numbers. So this is really key. You have to know this. This is the first thing you really need to know and understand when you start looking at your 2020 goals. So that means at the end of each month, what I'll do is I'll go back, I'll rework my calendar, I'll relook at my numbers, and then I'll create okay, this is how many people I need to speak to, okay? So that'll change. Now, for those of you that have multiple services, it's really hard to go through a sales cycle and sell multiple things at once. I find that if I'm selling 2 or 3 things simultaneously, my conversions are lower than when I'm picking one item and I'm selling it through a sales. I'm going through a cycle. When I say a sales cycle, so for instance, I have a coaching group coming up in February 12th. And so right now I'm focusing on filling that group. So if I'm focusing on getting people to join the group so that I can then start it. But I provide individual coaching. But if I'm on the call selling people individual coaching, oh, if you don't want that, then I'll sell the group. What I find is that the confused mind doesn't buy. So if I'm selling more than one thing at a time, the conversions are lower because people get confused. It's too many things. And so it's really important to focus on one thing at a time. And then if you decide, okay, I have a group, this group is going to start, let's say in April, then you focus your selling to fill that group until April. And then the next thing would be individual coaching or whatever it is. I'm using coaching as the example because that's my industry and I know it. But some of you might have different products that you'll offer and it's seasonal at different points in time. Be really clear about making sure that you are focused on what that cycle is and that you know your conversions, because then it's going to be hard for you to track your sales. It's going to be hard for you to know what you need to tweak or change in order to raise your conversions. It's just hard to track anything when you're doing multiple things for you as a business owner. And it's hard for your audience to be able to track what you're selling if you're constantly changing what it is. So just think about that when you're looking at starting to sell something. You want to focus on one thing, master that until you bring in the next thing. Okay, there was another point that I wanted. First, any questions? I went through so many things. Is there any questions to help all of you that are following on this? And I know most of you are on mute. You can either write a question to in the chat or I can take you off mute. Is everybody good so far? So a couple of keys to think about when you're creating your target numbers is, like I said, you got to know your numbers. You got to have a tracking device. So what I've been telling my clients, I've been telling people, the phone calendar is great. And we're going to talk about time management tips because next month, my next virtual workshop is going to be, I actually just put it here. It's going to be called Time Management Tips to Increase Productivity and Eliminate Procrastination. That's super key for entrepreneurs because we're multitasking, we're doing so many things. And so now when you're looking at your numbers, some of you have to get in front of 60 people. Some of you have to get in front of 20 people. Some of you have to get in front of 300 people. You got to look at, how do I get in front of these people? And this is more than just, okay, who's my audience and knowing your target group, because you've got to understand that too. But where do you get these people? So you got to start looking at ways in which you can strategically market. And this is going to be a time management tool because you got to start to manage it. Because an effective business owner is spending 50% of their time on income producing activities. And I'll go into a little bit more of that next month when we do that virtual workshop. That's going to be February 6th. But they focus on income producing activities. And income producing activities is going to be networking. It's going to be doing sales calls. It's going to be speaking in front of, like, doing presentations, workshops like this. This is an income producing activity. You've got to start to put yourself, and especially those of you that have bigger numbers, you got to find a way in which you can position yourself in front of 300 people or 60 people. And when you're looking at a networking group, that's one way too. Like if you go to a networking group, you can have anywhere between 10 to even 100 people. You want to start strategizing how you're going to do that. And so what I start to tell clients is you want to at least try to get to one networking group a week. You know, at least you want to build up to that because you want to start getting in front of people so that you can actually have qualified leads to sell your business. And when I say networking meetings, you want to position yourself so that you're showing up to places where there are people that's your audience. You know, and for some of you, I know what Marlisha, what you do, it's like brown bag lunches. We get you in front of school administrators. You got to look at, okay, where am I going to find those administrators? Some of you with Andrea, you know, with pest control, you can do sponsorships, getting tables, going back to repeat customers. Start thinking about ways in which you can get in front of that many people. And for those of you that have the bigger numbers, you want to look at, where can I find them? Is it renting, when I say sponsorship, is it renting a booth at an expo? or at an event where you can then have a booth up and you can start to get in front of multiple people. And there's a whole strategy behind that, but you need to get in front of these people. And how you're going to find them is you got to get out there and you got to start speaking about your business. You got to start letting people know that you're out there and knowing what you do. And for those of you that are doing services, you're going to look at ways in which you can get new business. Online is a great way. This is a great way. However, the conversions are a lot lower online. And so you want to be clear as to convert when you do a workshop like this, it's going to be a lot lower than when you're in front of people in person. And so you want to look at ways in which you can start doing workshops out in the public, right, in your community, or even flying into groups like networking groups, chambers of commerce, looking at where you can speak to different groups and offer them some value, some sort of value in your talk. So start thinking about ways in which you can get in front of these people so that you can track these numbers. Because if you've got 60 people and you're not leaving the house and you don't know where they're going to be, then there's no way you're going to meet the conversions. Because what I'm finding with most entrepreneurs is the issue is a volume issue. The issue is the conversions. Yes, you got to skill up on sales. You got to have all that kind of stuff. And we won't know what your issues are until you actually start selling. But the bigger issue is you're not getting in front of enough people. So that's usually where it is because if you get in front of enough people and you've got a good product, then your people will buy it. It's like, where are they? So start to look at ways in which you can get in front of the people. And that's why these numbers are super important, because when you've got these bigger numbers, and even if you've got 60, even if you've got 20, you need to then get in front of 5 people a week. So you can start to break that down. And so speaking, sponsorships, like I said, we'll talk about this in another workshop and ways in which to get in front of people and selling. Start thinking about ways you can do that. So I'm going to open up, because this is a workshop. I want each of you to think. So starting with Marlicia, I'm not going in any particular order. I'm just going in the way it's showing up on the Zoom. So with Marlicia, where are you going to get in front of those people? And if I recall looking at your number, you had to get in front of 20 people.
Yes.
Where are you going to get in front of them?
So
We got a half a month left, so at least you can get in front of maybe at least half of those, or can you get in front of 20 before the end of the month?
I'm working at, I believe I can get in front of 20. I can get in front of at least 10. One way is I have another training that I'm doing, so I'm actually going into some schools with flyers to talk to people. That way, right now I only have 5 people signed up. So as far as the month, that's all I have. But I was thinking as you were talking, what I'm also doing, I'm trying to get to conferences. There are a couple of conferences in February and March that I can get in front of larger groups of people. So I'm working on that. Those are the 2 things that I have so far. And then the cold call, looking through, I'm going through all my cards that I have from people that I've met, years ago that I hadn't talked to for a while to see where they are.
And so Marlicia has a good plan because I've spoken to her in the past.
Yes.
The main thing is start revisiting old contacts. Start looking at who you can get in front of and do speaking engagements. And when I say speaking engagement, you can speak about anything. Even Andrea, I told you can speak about pest control in front of a group of people. There's a way that you can angle it, and that if it's good enough, if it's enticing enough, if people are interested enough, they will show up if you give them tips on how to A, B, and C. And what's really important, there's so many steps because now we're talking about speaking engagements. You want to have a good lead magnet. For those of you that don't know what a lead magnet is, thanks, Marlicia. A lead magnet is you want to have something that you can, when you're speaking and when you're getting out there meeting people, that you can bring them into. And so lead magnet could be, come on a call for 20 minutes and I'll do a strategy session. That's my lead magnet for this calls. Come on a call and I will talk to you about your business. We'll look at where you can find money, ways in which you can strategize your packaging so that you can make more money. That's a lead magnet. And through you coming in to speak to me, and I'm going to go through your business and give you tangible ways in which you can make more money. Hopefully will be enough for you to see, oh, wow, she knows what she's talking about. I want to work with her. I know that she's got more to offer, right? That's one way. Another lead magnet, I was talking to other people, is like a 10 steps. If you depending upon what your business is, I have a business checklist. I'm developing a new one that kind of runs you through these numbers so that you're very clear about what do you need to do in order to create your financial plan, your profit strategy in order to move forward in your business. It could be the 10 steps to, if your business, with pest control, we talked about tips. It could be a list of tips. It could be a workbook, but something that's people want, that they'll want to get a hold of. You want to have some sort of lead magnet that will bring them into your sphere, bring them into your community so that you can have a conversation, a sales call, especially when you're speaking. You want to have, you know, something that, everybody please give me your email address so that I can give you my tip sheet. I can give you the 10 steps to ... whatever that is that people are interested, that are your audience. And then that way you gather their information and then create a sales call. Come in for a 20-minute free call, do an assessment for you about what you need to do. And so you want to have something that people are interested in that will bring them in, so that way you can further the conversation. And so that's a whole nother topic that we can talk about for an hour. But you need to get in front of people. You need to be able to sell them your services, but you need to be able to do it in a way where you have something they want. And that's why these sales conversions are key, because we got to start to look at tweaking what is happening here if your sales conversions are low, to see, okay, what's working, what isn't. Do you need to change the target audience? Do you need to change what you're selling? Do you need to change how you're positioning what you're selling? And so there's all those different things, but we won't know until you're out there actually doing it. So this is one of those things you need to kind of fail forward in. And when I say fail forward, I don't want anybody to fail, but this is one of those things where you got to just jump into it and start to do it, because sometimes you may have a target audience where what you think it is they want may not be what they want, but you won't know until you actually start to talk to them, until you start to do things with them, until you start to see what their biggest issues are. Okay, so I hope everybody has their numbers for the year, and I hope that you have at least a strategy to start. And for those of you that haven't booked a call, go to meetingwithphyllis.com. Did I spell my name right? I think I did. To book a strategy call if you want to go more in depth into your plan, because this is what's going to create your success. You know, all the other stuff, the sales, the positioning statements, all of those things will go into as this year progresses, as far as the free workshops that I'll be providing. But you need to be clear about what it is that you're providing, especially if you want to create that success. You know, and the cool thing right now is the economy is starting to lift. People are starting to pay for stuff. And so there's probably a market for whatever it is that you want to sell. It's just being clear about what it is and how you can position in a way in which people know people are willing to pay for it. That's really what's key. Okay, so any questions? I'm going to unmute the line to see if any of you have any questions, because we're kind of coming to a close here at the workshop. Anyone? Anyone? All right, awesome. So go ahead and book your strategy call if you haven't already. Go ahead and take a plan, make a plan for the rest of your month. We've got 2 weeks left, I think even 2.5 weeks, because it's a 31-day month. You've got time in which you can start to really go into creating more money in your business. All right, so good luck everyone, and then I'll see you next time, next month. It's going to be February 6th. I'm going to go into more time management tips to increase your productivity and talk really about your income producing activities, what those should be, what those are, what they aren't, and how to strategize so that you can make a plan. Because that's key for entrepreneurs too, is you need to focus on making money. You need to don't stop creating content, stop dabbling on the website. You got to start looking at ways in which you need to start to create money. What's money making? Building a program and writing the content and copy is not going to make you money. So you got to look at ways in which you can do this, which is looking at these numbers. All right, everyone, have a good.
Phyllis,
Yeah.
Phyllis,
Yeah.
will the session on the 6th be around the same time as this one? Like
Yes, they're all going to be 12. Thank you. 12
Okay.
p.m. Pacific Standard Time. So, and there'll be a Zoom call. So now that you've registered, you will be registered for each of the different workshops that are coming up.
Okay.
A different Zoom room. It won't be the Zoom room, but you'll get the details as we lead up to it. But go ahead and book your calendars for February 6th at 12 p.m. We're going to talk about the time management ways in which to increase your productivity, focusing on income producing activities, and how you can start eliminating the dawdling. I'm a big dawdler, so I've had to get structured on that. Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. Thanks for coming.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, and if you haven't already, go ahead and book your call.